Hello, and welcome to another edition of Darth Vader is Your Father. And I'm your host, James Lott Jr. Thank you for making this show slash podcast a nice little hit for my network. You can follow us on any social media platform, of course, at James Lott Jr. JLJ Media. But the show is on every streaming service you can think of. And it's also on YouTube, my channel, JLJ Media. So this one, I'm not doing this for Black History Month because it's in February. Everybody's like, you do all this, I'm not doing any Black stuff for Black History Month. I'm doing this just in general. I want to talk about it a little bit and talk about its importance for me. But the Black characters or Black people who are involved in the Star Wars universe. The universe is huge. It's huge. The 9 movies, well, 9 main movies, side movies, and then the TV shows that are out now on Disney Plus. Not a lot. When you think about the thing, not a lot, but there are some. And just to name a few, and we love these characters. Grief Karga, played by Carl Weathers, which today is his birthday. Hey, birthday! He's in The Mandalorian. Mace Windu by my man Samuel L. Jackson, Phantom Menace. John Boyega, who plays Finn in the later trilogy, which I'm going to tie him in with someone else. Second. Maz Kanata from Force Awakens, played by Lupita Nyong'o. Jabba's little slave girl dancer, Rachel, played in The Force Awakens, played by Crystal Clark. Jennifer Beals is in Boba Fett. She's biracial. And of course, the voice of Darth Vader is by James Earl Jones. And the man himself who started it all, Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams. So it's a smooth taste for you. If you're from the 70s, you know the commercial. And there's a couple of little minor people in there too. But I want to just tell you the importance for me. I've been highlighting Black characters on TV and movies recently, getting some flack for it, getting some praise for it, just highlighting them, just like saying we need more, obviously we need more diversity. And it also includes Asian, Pacific Islander, Latino, East Indian, Indigenous. We need more. We need more around it because. But I'm here really to tell you about one of them that made two of the people that made me as a child very hopeful, and that was Billy D. Williams playing Lando, and learning that James Earl Jones owned the voice. So James Earl Jones is my voice idol. Clearly, I have a deep voice. His voice is very deep. It's a beautiful voice. And Lando, played by Billy D. Williams, who's like one of the Black superstar heartthrobs, especially in the 70s. He just really like broke down barriers that way. I just thought, as a kid, you want to see what's reflected, right? And back in the 70s, a lot of things were not reflected in mainstream movies that I want to see. And space is something that fascinates everybody, right? It's everybody's fascinated by space. It doesn't matter what race you are, gender, whatever. Just space is that frontier. I almost used another franchise's phrase, but it's space and the future. And if you look at how life and the populations are now, you would assume in the future we would be around. That would just be a natural thing that we would be around. And it was just not reflected in a lot of things at that time. So Star Wars broke some barriers in the sci-fi genre by, not saying they were the first, but I'm just saying there was, because Star Trek had Uhura. So that was, she was like one of the first for space. But just nice in the Star Wars movies to have this guy who's kind of swashbuckling and suave, and it showed a Black man in a way we just didn't see ever. And I was a preteen when it came out, when the movies came out. I was like I want to be like him, so to speak. I can see myself in the future, in this made up future, but I can see myself in the future. And I know a lot of other Black boys that were friends, we all were into him. We were into the movie anyway, but we were into him. And we felt included. There's something really visceral about that. That's good. I feel included. I feel like I can be a part of this. And it was just so wonderful. And the characters were played by a great, he was a great actor. And learning that Darth Vader was voiced by a Black man, for me, it was just like, Because Darth Vader is, yeah, he's evil and all of that. But we love him here. We love Darth over here. We're fans. That was cool too. I'm sure there are white folks who have great voices too. I know some who do have wonderful voices. Again, a voice isn't how deep your voice doesn't do with your gender or race or whatever. Well, no, your gender, yes, but your race. But I thought it was cool they went with him. Now, I've heard things. I don't know all the details about payments, things like that. But the fact that he still was represented in the future, again, these little small details are not so small in communities that feel othered and left out. So I was like, yes. So those two things really did help me appreciate the Star Wars world more. And I look fondly on that. And I've been a Star Wars fan ever since the first movie, and all the books and all that stuff. And I have Lando adventures and books. And in Solo, when they brought in Donald Glover to play a younger version, I thought it was great. I mean, it's like I like to see more of some Lando stuff or whatever, but that's just me. If I can write a spinoff, Disney Plus, give it to me, I'll write it. But I just think that I hope that other kids who are watching the Star Wars films and see a Finn or see a Mace Windu, or see it and go, okay, we're part of it. Now, Jar Jar Binks, of course, is one of the most controversial characters in Star Wars, and I don't even want to really talk about him. I'm not a big fan of his, but there was talk about him. Is he black? Is he being is he a caricature of stuff? I'm not sure. And again, I'm not getting inside on this program. I want to stay on the positive images, but I know I had to mention him a little bit because I know people are always like, you mentioned so and so. I'll make sure I mention it. But I'm looking at the other imagery. And Finn is a direct descendant, basically, of him on screen, of Lando and Mace and all of them. They came before him. It was wonderful to see John Boyega, attack this role with such veracity. I think he was so good in the films. Some of the films weren't the greatest, but I appreciate him and his work that he put into it. He worked really hard into it. He took it very seriously. And he's also out there advocating for Black portrayals and things like that. I just think space is one of those things that race shouldn't matter. And space shows are starting to do that now. They're starting to add diverse casting. And Star Wars was very diverse this last trilogy. They're very diverse. And I just think that's where we should be going. I mean, that's how life would go. I mean, we're here. I guess these old space movies and things, like there's no people of color at all. Like what happened to us? We were there. We were there. We should be there. So I want to shout out to all the Black characters or people who are on the Star Wars universe, and hope it continues. We have more shows coming out this year on Disney Plus. I know I have movies coming out. Let's just show the world. Just say be included. Just include everybody. Just include them. I mean, I'm asking for special treatment or like that. Just include people, especially if they're good actors and they can play the role. Throw them in and play the role, and just and maybe not look at color so much, but look at color so much. It's both. I'm James Lott Jr. This is Darth Vader is your father, and we will see you next time. May the Force be with you.